The most important thing about creating great UX or doing anything in the creative field is to make sure that you have a great imagination. What do I mean by imagination? It's a very vague term if you think about it. But if you notice, the big designers, creative directors, people who are doing really well in the creative field can almost imagine the whole situation when you just say a few words to them. Of course, it comes with a lot of experience. It comes with a lot of heavy lifting that they have done previously in their career. But still, those things matter the most. That's why a big company would hire you. Imagine you're sitting in a board of directors meeting and they are discussing this big plan about changing their entire enterprise business. There are 7,000, 8,000 people working for the company, and it could just be a simple website. But when they start talking about the website, you as a designer would start seeing the website. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but this is one of the things I do with my clients. Whenever we are sitting on a call and they mention something like we want the next thing to be like this, and in my head I start visualizing it very much in detail, as much as possible, you know. Try to use the right words to explain what I mean, right? So when they say our landing page will have our logo here, the navigation here, hero image here, content here, 3 column, 4 column, 12 column, whatever it is, I can see it. As they say it, I start imagining it. As I imagine it, I use techniques of rapid prototyping, rapidly building something using just simple shapes like rectangle and a bunch of other primitive shapes, just to get a structure right in front of them. So you're on a call, they are saying certain words, you start by writing those words down. Just type it out in a fig jam board or something. Then take a rectangle and start crafting their vision right in front of them. So they are very sure that you got the point, right? Because that kind of miscommunication leads to iterations lead to wastage of their budgets and whatnot. And at the end of the day, you lose the project. Nobody wants to do that. So a good trick is to have that workshop, almost like a mini workshop, when the requirement is given to you. You're an expert. People hire you for being an expert, to provide your opinion and help them out with certain scenario. And I think this becomes super valuable when you're on a call. You try to solve the problem right there, but in a very, very mini form. And if you think about it, design thinking is this, right? Design thinking is all about creating quick solutions, testing it out in the market. Now, before you go to the market, you test it out with the business. You have a business hypothesis, a solution that the business think it works. At least get to that right there. So they give you a requirement, you imagine it, you quickly craft something out. It's not the best looking product in the world. It's not the best looking wireframe in the world at this point, right? It's just a bunch of ideas collated together. And that's where a lot of designers miss the point. We get like 1,000 entries every day if we just put one job post out. And one thing that I have noticed is a lot of these upcoming designers, they just think making things look pretty is the best idea. And I can't just talk about them. When I was learning, my only aim was to make things look pretty. One of my manager would just say, add a sparkle, add some stars and make it look good. Like, this is what I have been through. Like, I learned a lot, but initially when you're learning, your primary aim is just to make things look good, and nothing wrong with that. But design is not just that. Design is way bigger than that, right? You need to know how to touch lives, how to solve a problem, how to affect so many people with your little design, 1 or 2 screens or a logo or a creative or an ad campaign. All of these are creative jobs. All of these things are designed, right? The problem solving starts here, not in the software. And I think that's one thing that people miss out a lot. Design is about looking at all the constraints, saying, okay, this is what we have, this is where we are, this is the problem, now how can we solve it? Again, as a creative problem solver, as a UX designer, graphic designer, communication designer, service designer, there are so many different fields, interior, architects. As a design personnel, as somebody who's an expert in design, you have to solve the problem in your head. And you cannot imagine the solution until and unless you've done it for multiple years. And I think that's where the gap between young designers and experienced designers is more evident. So a lot of times when I was learning, I was like, what should I learn to become a great designer? How do I become a good designer? You know, what is the path? And of course, there are all of your empathy mappings and affinity mapping and all of those fancy terms that are so scary at the beginning, and when you go to the core of it, they are very simple, but those things are very overwhelming. They are intimidating to start with. Yes, there are those things. Yes, learn those things by all means. Go for it. But at the core of it, remember that you are here to learn how to solve a problem. And that's what we are doing here, right? You're supposed to know where you are, what the current state analysis is, understanding that, understanding the problem statement clearly, giving a quick, rapid solution right from your imagination, getting a go-ahead from the client, take a couple of days extra, draft the whole thing with details and everything, take that product into the market, test it out, learn again, keep doing the same process over and over again. In a nutshell, if you ask me, well, that's what design is. That's what you need to be very, very careful of in 2024 and all the years coming forward.